Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today we're taking a look at this right here, Zoar, put out by Vesuvius Media. It is a 2 to 4 player game for ages 12 and up, and it's supposed to go in about 45 minutes to an hour. So it is basically a race to either destroy 4 cities or get your sacred relic back to your capital city. So let's go ahead and get down to the table. I'll show you how it works, and then we'll come back with some final thoughts in a few moments. So here I have a 4-player game of Zoar set up for you, and basically the board is set up randomly with all of these different numbered tiles shuffled and then put out in this cross pattern randomly, and then each of the different players' home areas are set on the corners of this 4x4 grid. And once you're able to do that, everybody picks a color, you're ready to start the game. Now, in order to win the game, you're wanting to do one of 2 different things. You either want to, in a 4-player game, destroy 4 cities, or you want to get your sacred relic back to your home capital. Be the first person to do that. Now, in order to do that, you have to have armies that will come over here, pick it up, and then take it back to your area. If you want to do this, you simply have to attack other players' cities and destroy them in combat, or have a lucky roll of the die. Everybody's player board has all the information that they need to go through their round. First of all, down here you have the round progression. So on your turn, you're going to move first, then you're going to do combat, then you'll be able to trade and build, and then you have to go through the divine intervention phase where you roll that 12-sided die and then carry out the effects that are necessary. Also, it has a special power. Each character, for example, green here, whenever he moves onto a place where you can get food, you get an extra food. So green is the farmer. And then down here, you have the place that you can hold your food and your building materials or your rocks. And you can have a max of 3 resources on both lines. So when you collect them, they go up here. At the end of the turn, they become ready to use by moving down. The yellow player gets to build these temples, which will gain them some extra resources throughout the course of the game. Really cool ability there. Down here, blue has the ability to trade 1-for-1 resources, so you can trade 1 food for one rock and vice versa. And whereas normally you can only trade 2 for 1. And then down here, red is the builder. So whenever he goes into a place, much like with the food for green, whenever he goes into a place that gives him rock, he gets an extra 1. So in this scenario, yellow is going to be attacking green in order to try to destroy that city and thus get a destroyed city token that they can place on their player board. Now, in a straight up fight, what would happen here is that these 2 guys would destroy these 2 guys like so, and the city would be left with no problems at all. But there is a thing in the game called reinforcements, where players can use their brick cubes as reinforcements in the battle. So in this instance, let's say that green comes in with 1 reinforcement and yellow comes in with 3 reinforcements. Now in a fight, each army and reinforcement has a strength of 1 and a health of 1. And then each city has a health of 1 and a strength of 1 as well. Leaders are not actually part of the battle, cannot be destroyed in a battle. And temples, like these things over here, have a health of 1, but they have no strength, so they don't deal any damage back. Now, in combat resolution, you have to start with the reinforcements first and then work your way up. So basically, this guy would kill this guy would kill this guy would first kill this person, and then the city here would deal a damage to this guy here, but that leaves this guy to kill the city. So the city would fall, and that means that the yellow player would be able to take one of their destroyed city tokens and put it on their board. And then later on in yellow's turn, they made a divine intervention roll, and they had this as their roll, which means that this tile is going to be touched by God, which means that it's going to produce resources if the tile has things that produce resources on it. And then opponent armies and cities are destroyed, which means that both of these guys would be knocked out. Now, you do have the opportunity of using metal or ore to act as a lightning rod to counteract the effects of the divine intervention. So if red had 2 metal or ore, they would be able to save their army and city from being destroyed during the divine intervention roll. But if they don't, both of these guys are destroyed. Yellow would actually get a destroyed city icon to or tile to add to their player board, and so forth and so on. But just realize that you can use ore or metal to protect your armies and cities if you have that available to you. Additionally, these temples, if divine intervention happens, they get offerings, which means that they will actually be able to gain a resource that was produced from the divine intervention. Now, if somebody else has armies there, like red did, they will also be able to, but the temples always gather first, and then other armies will be able to do it. And then, of course, if they're not able to be saved, then they're dead. Because those metal resources, they have to be able to be used. They can't be ones that you just procured. And then finally, building is very simple. You can build cities wherever your guy is here to begin with. So doing so costs 1 metal from your ready to be used area, which is down here. So you spend 1 metal and you can put one of your cities out. And then you can also build armies for 1 food per army. So if I wanted to, I could take these 2 cows here and then put 2 of my army down here, 2 of my army members down here like that. And that would be it. Now that's how everybody can do it. Yellow has the opportunity to also build temples instead of the cities, and they give you that effect that I just showed you during the divine intervention explanation. And that's generally how you play Zoar, with the rounds continuing through, everybody taking their own turns until one person either is able to destroy 4 cities, or they are able to get their sacred relic back to their capital. And whoever is able to do one of those 2 things first is the winner. So that's about that for Zoar. Now, this is a pretty much a resource collection, resource management game where you're simply trying to either destroy 4 cities of your opponents, of course, or get your sacred relic back to your capital city, and you're supposed to do one of those 2 things in the speediest way possible to be the first person to do it. It's a very simple game as far as that's concerned. There's a little bit of some twists here and there with it, so let's go ahead and get to my pros and cons. So my first pro is the box artwork. Now the box artwork is a pro because it looks so cool. I really enjoyed the look of this box, and this is one of the things that really kind of brought my interest to the surface for this game. And I saw the box cover and I was like, ooh, that's something that I want to look into because it looks so crisp and it looks so intriguing, I guess you could say. So I wanted to give it a try. The problem then was, though, I looked at the back and the components and stuff like that just didn't match the box. The box looks amazing, not so much the components. And so I was very much drawn to the artwork for the cover, and it is a pro for me because I do think that game publishers should be putting more attention into what their box looks like on the outside. And I do like the fact that they did have the components listed on the back, because if I were in a store looking at this game, I would be drawn to this. And then I would look at this and be turned away, because this just doesn't appeal to me at all. But I appreciate it when publishers do that because it shows me that I'm going to like it or I possibly won't like it. And this showed me that I possibly won't like it. But I still wanted to try it though because of this. So it is a pro for me in this case. The second pro for me are the components. The component quality of this game is not bad. Now, why would you put that as a pro then, you ask? Well, because there are a lot of games out there that have horrible components. So when a game has good components, now again, they're not stellar, they're just wood pieces, but they're nice. And they're much better than, like, a cardboard chit or some other kind of, maybe a standee or something like that. And the meeples, they look good on the board. They pop. The different cows. And I know the metals are just cubes, but you get the idea. The components are good, and that's a pro. I like also the fact that the player boards had all the information that you need right there. Now, the quality of the player board is a little flimsy. It's not cardboard. I would have rather this been a little bit of a lot more of a heavier stock. But it has the information that you need on it, including your special ability, the round order, a place to hold your resources, and it has everything you need on it. So this is a good player aid. So that's what I'm talking about with components. This particular component could have been a little bit better quality, but everything is there, and I like the presentation of the game. Even though it doesn't look that amazing to me, it's still a good presentation of the game, so it's a pro. Unfortunately, that's where the pros have to end, because while the game looks good, has a great box cover, all that good stuff, I did not like this game at all. For example, my first con is this little thing right here. And this is the most egregious con that I'm going to mention, and that is the Divine Intervention die. And the reason that it's because it's always going to hit. There are 12 tiles on the board, 12 faces to the die. It's always going to do something, you just don't know where it is. So it's one of those elements in the game where something good's going to happen as well, because all of the areas in the board are going to produce, and there's a possibility for you to get those resources. The temple will get it first before everybody else does. There's all that. But something bad is going to happen. You could spend all of your resources on building a city and getting armies to that city so that you can continue to try to do stuff in the game, and then boom, this rolls. And, well, there go all of those resources. And you might say, well, you need to keep some of those resources in reserve. Well, yeah, that's true. However, you can only hold 3 max of your resources. That's not enough. But we'll get to that in a minute. This is what we're talking about right here, and this is the main thing that soured this game on me, because I can't tell you how many times I was the beneficiary of Divine Intervention with this die, because my armies, I would spend my stuff, and before it got to build armies so that I can move them, it got back. And more often than not, the person that was right before me rolled the die that destroyed my armies in my city. Happened multiple times in the game. All right, so no. I hate this mechanic. Now, my second con, I kind of touched on, and that's the fact that you can only have 3 resources combined, top and bottom. Not just 3 ready resources. 3 resources combined. So if you have, like for example, the green is the farmer, right? So if I move into a space that gives me food, it gives me +1 food. That's great. But what if I already have 2 food here? I'm gonna get 1, and now I'm at my max, and I can't even get the special ability that I have. This is a worthless special ability. We'll get to that in just a minute as well. But the whole thing about max 3 resources, no. It's so restrictive. And it makes the game not fun. A third con for me, and this is usually a pro, and that is special player powers or variable player powers. And this game has it. The green guy is the farmer. He gets to get extra cows or extra food whenever he moves into one of those areas. The red player is a builder, so he gets extra metal or extra ore whenever he moves into one of those places. The blue guy is a trader, so he is able to trade 1-for-1 with the bank, and that's cool. And then there's yellow that gets to build these really awesome structures called temples that will be basically resource production centers for you during the game. There are 4 of these roles every game, and there's a potential for you to have resources produced for you. You don't have to move your troops into them or anything like that by these temples because of the offerings that they offer, that they have for you. So this is by far the better. As long as you strategically place your temples in the right places, these are by far, yes, temples can be destroyed. I get it. But they can be built and then they'll produce more resources. By far, this is the best one. Now, again, I try very hard not to give the designer the benefit of the doubt. I'm not saying that it is imbalanced. It definitely felt that way. All right, so I know that a lot of time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears went into this game trying to make it as balanced as possible, I think, and I hope, and I assume. But, man, I'll tell you, I won by 4 lucky rolls because I was able to destroy 4 cities with a lucky die roll, and the person didn't have the ability to stop it with a ore or metal. So I won because of that. So all in all, I don't want to poo-poo this too much because I like I said, it does have its pros, and it has a pretty good production quality. It has good artwork for the box cover. Artwork for the board was neither here nor there. It didn't really do anything for me or against me. It was okay, but it just didn't match the board box cover definitely. So that's that. The rulebook was a little vague in some spots, but overall it told you how to play the game in a fairly succinct and efficient manner, but there were some holes in it, but not so much, not as bad as some rulebooks that I've read, that's for sure, but it was definitely unclear in some places. So all in all, I'm going to give this one I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 10, I think, because I think it's definitely below par. Mechanisms like this right here, the Divine Intervention, are just game killers for me. They're just so random. And you might ask, well, what's the difference between this and an event deck? Well, event decks, for the most part, I can see how they would be similar to this, depending on how harsh the effects of those events are. But this was very harsh. Having armies and cities destroyed outright, very swingy, very, very swingy. And I just don't like it when things do that. So this was a game killer for me. When we rolled this and when I read about it in the rulebook, I was like, I don't know about that. That's going to be heavy-handed. And indeed it was. So 4 out of 10 for me. I just really did not like this game at all. It just had too much going against it. I was intrigued by it. Box cover drew me in. Even the gameplay seems like it would be very simple and very fast, very fun, but this Divine Intervention really kind of spoiled it for us. And we did not enjoy this game at all. So I guess I shouldn't have to apologize, but I want to, because I know people put a lot of effort into making this game, and I don't want to subvert that, but I have to say that this is just not fun for me. So that's it for me, 4 out of 10. Thanks for joining me here. Appreciate it, and we'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.